Your brain doesn't just process reality, it decides what reality is. And when that system breaks, the entire world can become a lie. Some people become convinced that life is a television show. Others believe the places they visit don't really exist, or exist in two places at once. And some become certain that everyone they meet is actually the same person, wearing different faces. These aren't movies, these aren't metaphors. They're real psychological disorders, and these are three of the most unbelievable. Have you ever had the feeling that you're being watched, even when you're alone? That strangers seem to react a little too perfectly, as if they already know what you're going to do. Now, imagine being completely certain that this is not just a feeling. These people believe their entire life is being filmed. Friends, family, even strangers, all actors. Every conversation, every coincidence, every mistake, all scripted. This belief has a name, Truman Show Delusion, and once it takes hold, reality becomes something you can no longer trust. Some patients search for hidden cameras. Others confront strangers, demanding to know who's really watching. Some lose jobs, relationships, or housing because they can no longer trust anyone. Even silence becomes suspicious. It usually begins with small coincidences. A stranger looking away at the wrong moment, a conversation that feels rehearsed, or a song playing at exactly the right time. These events compile, turning perception into something truly bizarre. Over time, nothing feels private. Even thoughts feel exposed, because if everyone is watching, someone must be listening. Some patients begin performing for their imagined audience. Others withdraw from the world completely. Clinically, Truman Show Delusion is a type of persecutory or referential delusion, where random events stop being random. For them, the worst part isn't being watched, it's realizing they may never know when reality stopped being real. You return home from work the way you always do. Same directions, same traffic lights, same time of day. Nothing feels wrong, until you reach your house. It looks exactly like home. Same door, same windows, same scratches in the paint. You recognize every detail, but now something is off. You notice the street seems unfamiliar. The buildings around it weren't there before. Then the realization sets in. You know, with absolute certainty, that your house has been moved. Not rebuilt, not remodeled, relocated. You don't feel confused or scared, but actually relieved. Your brain fills in the explanation effortlessly. This house is a copy. My real one exists somewhere else. Curious, however, you attempt to unlock the door, and sure enough, your keys work and you step foot inside. You notice a striking resemblance to your real house. In fact, everything is identical. The rooms, the furniture, the smell. This is undeniably your house, but in a different location. This is what reduplicative paramnesia feels like. A rare neurological disorder where the brain becomes convinced that a familiar place exists in two locations at the same time. In short, sufferers believe reality has been copied and pasted. In a classic set of cases reported by Benson and colleagues in the 1970s, patients at the Boston VA hospital insisted repeatedly that they were actually in hospitals in cities where they had lived previously, such as Taunton, Massachusetts, or had even placed the same hospital in a spare bedroom of their own home. What makes this disorder especially disturbing is that memory stays intact. You can describe the place perfectly and you recognize it instantly. The issue isn't memory, it's the patient's perception of location. Reduplicative paramnesia is often linked to damage in the right hemisphere of the brain, especially areas responsible for spatial awareness and familiarity, such as the right parietal lobe and the right temporal lobe. The brain recognizes the place, but loses the ability to anchor it to a single point in space. So, reality doesn't feel fake, it simply feels misplaced. And once you believe a place can exist in two locations at once, every time you walk through a door, you have to wonder which version you've just entered. How do you know that the people you pass each day are different people? If your brain breaks in a rare and very specific way, it becomes impossible to believe that they are actually different. Imagine walking into a cafe and locking eyes with a stranger. Something about them feels familiar. Maybe not their face, but you notice something about their presence. Later that day, you see a different person across the street. different heights, different clothes, but you know, without hesitation, that it's the same individual. And even more disturbing, it's clear that they are now following you. They've adopted a new appearance, new voice, and a new role in society. But it's always them, and they are always following you. This is Fregoli Syndrome, a rare delusional misidentification disorder where the brain becomes convinced that multiple people are actually a single person in disguise. Interestingly, this disorder is unlike paranoia. The belief isn't at all vague, but starkly precise. Patients may insist that a coworker, stranger, a cashier, or even a family member are all the same person, appearing and disappearing under different faces. And the most unsettling part, the person isn't always hostile. Sometimes they're believed to be a lover, others a protector, but anyone at any point can be this mysterious entity who always seems to find you. Fregoli syndrome is most often linked to damage in the right temporal and frontal regions of the brain, areas responsible for facial recognition and identity tracking. The face and the body may change, but the distinct feeling of familiarity doesn't. So, the brain does what it always does. It attempts to explain the feeling, and once every stranger becomes the same person, you're never really alone again. If your brain decided tomorrow that reality worked differently, how would you know? At what point would you stop trusting the world and start trusting the explanation that makes sense to you? And if that happened, who would you believe? This is exactly what occurs in the minds of people suffering from these disorders. At some point, their reality slowly starts to drift, and most of the time, the person never realizes it's happened. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and would like to see more dives into bizarre psychology, please give it a like and hit the subscribe button. It really helps my channel out massively. On screen is a video on a rare disorder which convinces people they're dead. Please consider giving it a watch. Until next time.